La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE Smackdown every Friday night after the bell. My name's John Zindel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
John, I acknowledge you. And I also acknowledge Don't Bury the Lead. So without further ado, what's our top story for SmackDown for June 28th, 2024?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead on this channel. We get right to the top story. And the top story, which you're going to see in the thumbnail, is Paul Heyman booted out of the Bloodline in a ceremony at the end of SmackDown in an interesting main event. We had Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, the rest of the Bloodline in there, or this new form of the Bloodline. And Jacob Fatu was kind of getting initiated, if you will. And part of the initiation, Solo Sikoa asks to be acknowledged by Paul Heyman, and he looks disheveled and out of it and really pasty, and his beard is all grown out. Kind of looks a little bit like disheveled, a little bit like Joe Biden last night, where he looked like death. But yeah, so eventually, he says, "I don't acknowledge you," and the Bloodline put a beating on him, which was pretty crazy to see an older guy that's not an active wrestler take some of the bumps that he was taking. Tom, what did you think of this main event?
Paul Heyman is turning babyface.
Right.
And with him, it looks like Roman Reigns is turning babyface. This will be very, very interesting when Roman Reigns is ready to return to the active roster.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning some of the details with Paul Heyman's appearance. The eyes looked bloodshot. He hadn't shaved in a few days. I wonder if he also didn't sleep in a few days. They're like, yeah, okay, we need you to look really disheveled for this, Paul. We want you to stay up all night for a couple of days, maybe take a nap. That's it. Don't shave. You got to look like, you got to look like hell.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he does, and then he starts taking bumps. And I'm thinking of, I don't know if this brought up back memories for you like this, but the way Bobby Heenan would take bumps as an older manager, because we don't see Paul Heyman do that a lot. And he didn't really have to flip and sell too much. He took a Samoan spike. He took a top turn headbutt from Jacob Fatu, and then the three, except for Solo, power bomb him through the announce table, and then he just rolls over to his stomach and just stays there pretty much motionless with his face in the floor mat.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool the way that the crowd is behind. They're behind Paul Heyman now, and he did it so well. This long segment, which brackets the last commercial break of the night, starts with Paul Heyman talking on the mic, introducing things, and suddenly Solo cuts him off and sticks the hand out like he wants the microphone. And Paul Heyman's looking like, this wasn't what we talked about, and takes a long time to hand him the microphone. And when he does, Solo starts doing the acknowledgement, but it's not just I acknowledge you, Solo. It's acknowledge me as the tribal chief. And that's where you could see Paul in the background off to one side getting nervous, because Tama Tonga acknowledges him as the tribal chief, and Tonga Loa acknowledges him as the tribal chief, and Jacob Fatu acknowledges him as the tribal chief. And then they take out this small black bag, and Jacob Fatu pulls out the necklace that we've seen Roman Reigns wear, and he gives it to Paul Heyman. And Solo wants Paul Heyman to put that necklace on him the way he did for Roman. And Paul says, Solo, I love you, but I do not acknowledge you as my tribal chief. Huge pop, and that's the end of it. And no one comes out to save Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
He's got no friends.
I thought that was interesting too. I figured there would be some sort of a save situation.
Nope, CM Punk's on Raw and he's injured anyway.
Right.
Paul Heyman's only friend isn't there.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So it was something to see, and it was one of these things where seeing Paul Heyman go through the table, I was like, ooh. I was just like, man, just to see that older guy not in the best shape on the planet, kind of roly-poly, take that bump. It was like, ooh, but it was cool. And I like the fact that you never really see Heyman get his comeuppance, right? He does a lot of smack talk. He does a lot of like devious things constantly, but you never see him take any bumps. And tonight was the night where, he gets attacked and it looks brutal as a result.
It does. I want to bring up something else about the Bloodline here.
Mm-hmm.
The Bloodline has a way of doing babyface turns that are like the crowd is completely behind them.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn, when it was finally time for Sami Zayn to turn, the crowd went crazy in San Antonio at the end of Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the loudest cheers I've ever heard from a live crowd anywhere. And whatever. Sami Zayn finally hitting Roman with the chair, even though he got beat up. That was a huge face turn. Jey Uso looking at Jimmy and saying, "You out of the Bloodline and I'm out too," and super kicking Roman. That was a huge pop. And even Paul Heyman getting a huge pop. And the Bloodline is so good at this. They're so good at being the tough guy heels and the underhanded heels and the overbearing and domineering heels.
Right.
That when somebody finally turns, it's a real crowd pleaser. Like they play the long game with it, and when it finally happens, the crowd is behind. There was no tepid, lukewarm response tonight to Paul Heyman.
Yeah, and Heyman, probably a good place to do it, New York City.
Yeah.
I
Madison
think
Square Garden.
MSG, and because they're especially in Philly, but I know certain aspects of like the Northeast corridor because he's from New York, but he had ECW in Philly. Just being from the Philadelphia area like we are, he seems to get over as a face a little bit more in this area. Rather than in different parts of the country. So it probably was a good spot, like good city to do it in. And then in addition to that, he's just so charismatic. He really is. And even like just his commitment to the character tonight. With the bloodshot eyes, like you had mentioned. How did he get his eyes bloodshot? Do you think he was like putting some weird drops in before he went out there? I don't know.
He's putting reverse eye drops into his eyes,
Yeah, and he's been like a blubbering mess for weeks now leading into this. Another thing that was really cool, I noticed, just a little detail that I liked, was after they put him through the table, Solo Sikoa's face looked like blank, like he had just made some sort of serious thing, almost like what you would see if someone murdered someone. They're like, "Oh, what did I just do?" You know what I mean? Like, I lost my cool. What just happened here? So he had a really good face there at the end.
All right, I didn't quite pick up that subtlety. I was too busy writing down that the crowd was chanting "F you Solo." They've been doing "We want Roman," and then by the end of it, it chanted to "F you Solo,"
which is perfect. That's what you want.
Because now Solo Sikoa is getting heat. It's not, people aren't just reacting to the absence of Roman Reigns; they're reacting to the presence of Solo Sikoa, and that can be a subtlety that's lost on people, but it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
You don't want people just booing because they don't see another guy. You want people booing because of who they see in the ring. So this is Solo getting heat not simply the heat of the crowd missing Roman being transferred to Solo. And maybe that sounds a little too analytical, but like if you've ever performed, you know the difference,
Oh yeah, for sure.
right?
It's
And
not
go
it's
ahead.
not going to be one of these things where it's all because of Roman. Now it's because of Solo. So
Yep.
he could, pardon the pun, he could go solo without on his act and be over rather than rely on Roman Reigns for the pop.
So
So
really, this becomes what they called it, the Bloodline acknowledgement ceremony. This was all the pieces coming together where it looks more like Solo Sikoa really is in charge and he's adversarial. He's no longer just holding down the fort until Roman is ready to come back or something. He's taking over, right? This is him really stepping out of Roman Reigns' shadow. And
yes.
it's good to see the crowd, at least for one night in Madison Square Garden with the New York audience, getting behind that angle. So, as always, the Bloodline is a long game. And so this is set up to be many months down the road, many pay-per-views down the road, many SmackDowns down the road to continue and maybe come to some sort of partial resolution whenever it does. So I like it. If you want to just go subtleties and details, you could talk for an hour about the Bloodline, but to not jump the gun and do too much fantasy booking, I think I want to leave my take on this one just kind of where it is now. Like for what they gave us tonight, I thought it was cool, and I don't want to do too much. I don't want to do too much guessing and fantasy booking from this. I want to see how it plays out. I'm glad the crowd was behind it. I'm glad everybody did their role wonderfully tonight, and including getting the audience to buy into it.
Yeah, and that's the lead, folks. So that's the main event. That's Don't Bury the Lead. That's the lead of the night. Dom, we had some other stuff happening on the show. You want to take us into the match or segment you'd like to talk about?
Well, we only got 3 matches tonight because there was a Bloodline segment at the beginning and then this longer Bloodline segment at the end. The beginning one only was a tease for their Money in the Bank match. So I just might as well just mention that since it was a Bloodline kind of bookending this SmackDown. Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa arrive without Jacob Fatu. And they have a little talk with Paul Heyman, and they're walking to the ring to conduct some business. And that's when they show on the big board that Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens have arrived. And they have a sort of a mini brawl on the entranceway. Then it goes into the ring. They take a commercial break. The baby faces are still in there. They take out all the security that Nick Aldis sent down there. And then finally Nick Aldis goes to the back. And after the promos are done, he returns with, the NYPD to escort the baby faces out of the ring, which I want to see if you caught the same callback that I did. Heading into, I think, the first WrestleMania, a huge sell for that was that they were in New York City and Rowdy Roddy Piper had to get escorted from the ring by the NYPD. And of course, Piper was a heel and he was fighting it the whole way. But you can't show New York City cops escorting people to the ring out of Madison Square Garden without getting me to think of Roddy Piper.
Right.
So that was a neat little callback there. It's a very un-babyface move. The babyface is just beating up security, then jawing with the NYPD and getting escorted out.
Right.
Not a real. I mean, I don't want to get political. I'm no fan of cops, but that's not a babyface move.
No.
So it was weird.
Yeah, beating up anyone that's not a wrestler is always a little like, oh.
That's heel.
That's heel for sure.
We
saw Solo Sikoa do it tonight with Paul Heyman.
Yes.
That's definitely a heel move for sure.
It's a heel move, so that was a little weird, but they are like Money in the Bank premium live event, the pay-per-view from Toronto, 8 days from tonight's SmackDown. it looks like a pretty cool card, even without a lot of title belts on the line. Like they've gotten Cody Rhodes into a 6-man tag against the Bloodline with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Of course, the 2 Money in the Bank matches are there, so they're doing a good job of setting up money. It's the complete opposite of what we just saw, where there were title belts all over the place at Clash of the Castle.
Yeah.
Like they're
Right.
doing Money in the Bank without title belts, and it looks like it's going to work. So a good selling point for that thing. Although it's just weird when obvious baby faces do kind of heel things. Maybe it's a little bit more of trying to make Cody Rhodes kind of a tougher edge baby face.
Yeah, that might be part of it because he's been a really nice guy, right?
He's been a little too vanilla.
He's been he's been very vanilla in his run here.
He's been the corporate pitchman too much.
Yes, he's been
you
talking about how great WWE is.
Right. We want a babyface champ who leans more toward the Stone Cold Steve Austin end of the spectrum than the John Cena end of the spectrum as baby faces, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
So
it seems like a real person, not. Although I guess John Cena was being a real person, like that was an extension of his personality. He's just a strange man.
There are lots of ass kissers in the real world. They exist.
Yeah, right.
Right. There are corporate yes men and yes women. They exist. So that was just something to bookend to talk about that also involved the Bloodline. But my match of the night, we only got 3 matches tonight. None of them were squashes, though. All 3 were Money in the Bank qualifiers. I think match of the night was the one that went over the hour changeover there. It started at 8:58 here in southern New Jersey. Smackdown runs from 8 to 10 for us. So at 8:58, that means it's going over that switch of the hour there. This was LA Knight versus Logan Paul versus Santos Escobar, and that wound up involving a couple of NBA stars.
Yes.
Tyrese Halliburton of the Indianapolis Pacers and Jalen Brunson of the hometown New York Knicks.
Man, they had a lot of heat, didn't they?
They did. They brought in everybody for this one. This was something else. But in the end, we get a clean finish. LA Knight reversing a roll up onto Logan Paul for the pinfall.
Right.
There's some post-match stuff that gets into this. Tyrese Halliburton tries to get involved before the finish. What do you want to talk about in this match? Because I thought it was a pretty entertaining, even without the stuff at the end. I thought these 3 guys worked pretty well together. I thought it was a good, well-timed match with sequences. There was only one sequence that I thought looked a little too hokey because it was just taking too long to set up. That was LA Knight fireman's carry and climbing up to the second turnbuckle with Santos Escobar.
Yeah,
and eventually Santos Hurricane Ranas him off of that.
That
one looked a little slow developing. Everything else looked really crisp.
It looked like he was going to drop him, and he was barely holding him up. I was like, it looked almost. They did a good job recovering because it looked like it was almost a nightmare when he had him up there, and I was like, what are they going for here? And then he hits the Hurricane Rana. I mean, they got to where they had to get, but it was a little sloppy. But I have to say, whoever the Pacers guy was,
Tyrese
317 instead of 316, 317. Yes. I liked it. I thought he was really good, actually. And I feel like the NBA stars got a little bit more heat than the wrestlers. The crowd really popped for, but you figure Brunson's been a pretty popular player for the Knicks. They're relevant now. They play in that stadium. It'd be like the Jason Kelsey thing in Philadelphia, like big star, Although
WrestleMania,
yeah, but Kelsey's probably a bigger star than Brunson. But I think ultimately that was effective to have them out there.
Well, Logan Paul's introduction of Tyrese Halliburton drew a lot of heat too. He said, I thought I'd bring someone out who knows something about winning here in Madison Square Garden.
I don't mind a little cheap heat like that.
That's cheap heat. That is cheap heat. I love it, right? And he brings out an Indianapolis Pacer star because they won, what was it, Game 7 in Madison Square Garden this year during the playoffs to knock the Knicks out of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it was all relative, and what a good sport for this Tyrese guy to go
Yep.
into Madison Square Garden, be the heel, uh, be aside Logan Paul, and
And
both.
Jalen Brunson too. Like he got shown on camera before this match, and then they jawed a little bit. The two NBA guys before the match because Jalen's sitting front row and Tyrese is ringside. So they
Mhm.
jaw a little bit. Jalen Brunson eventually jumps the barricade when Tyrese Halliburton gets the brass knuckles and is teasing giving them to Logan Paul. That's when Brunson jumps the barricade and gets into it and starts telling the ref, "Hey, watch him. He's got brass knuckles." He's trying to be the spoiler. And it
Mhm.
works because the brass knuckles never get to Logan Paul. And then back in the ring, Santos Escobar creams Logan Paul in the corner, tries
Yeah.
to meteor LA Knight. LA Knight sidesteps it. Then BFT Santos. Logan Paul breaks it up and rolls up LA Knight, who reverses the roll up, maybe grabs the tights a little and gets the pinfall there. So
Right.
like Logan Paul had grabbed the tights as well on LA Knight during that roll up. So LA Knight did a little turnabout as fair play, quite literally turned him on the roll up
Right.
and then got the pinfall. So LA Knight, who's been dogging Logan Paul for a while, winds up pinning Logan Paul in this qualifier.
I love the finish from my perspective because
Yes.
just a roll up. I'm liking because we saw that twice tonight,
Yep.
and I'm really liking the fact that we don't have to do finisher pin. Like that was always the formula was finisher pinfall, right?
Yep.
Finisher, like, and then the pay-per-view is like, oh, they kick out of the finisher. You have to get two
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
them.
It's the 5 moves of doom, right?
And now it's like, oh, it can happen at any time.
Yeah.
So the crowd pops for all the pins more because the pinfalls can come in different ways.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, cool. Perfect.
That's a sneaky good way that pro wrestling used to do it. Because I think back to how many guys won, world titles on reversing something or roll-ups. And it used to happen in WWE occasionally as well.
Mhm.
But it seems like you're saying it got stale for a while there where everything was just, oh, his finishing sequence.
Yeah.
And now it's going to happen. And I think the WWE maybe for a while, and maybe other promotions also did it. I wasn't as keen on some of the others doing it as well. But, it becomes, and as Jim Cornette would say, lazy booking.
Right.
Right? It's just, bring the crowd along for the thing that's so predictable. But now there's less predictability to it, and it makes the guys be, I think, in some ways, better athletes and better old-time pro wrestlers who know how to wrestle defensively. Because the thing about a lot of these finishes is they come off of defensive wrestling.
Yes.
Right? It's a reversal. It's a roll-up. It's
Mhm.
surprising a guy rather than just, one guy just sitting there and just selling and taking some guys 4 moves in a row or whatever. So I think it forces the wrestlers to be better wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I like that. You and I both, we like the in-ring action. You've been an amateur wrestler. You've been a pro wrestler in an indie promotion around here. So I mean, you appreciate that too, right? I mean, you didn't just do the same finish every time.
Yes. No, it's true. Like just doing that same one move can get a little stale, especially when they're wrestling every week. You
Right.
you really need to see some variety. So I'm glad that they're mixing it up. Anything else from this match?
I don't think so. I mean, the guys just work so well together. Did you have a spot you wanted to call out, or maybe take issue with me calling it match of the night? There are only 3.
No, I think it was match of the night. Did you have any bad feedback during the match where the TV was cutting out at all for you?
That happened maybe half a dozen times during
Yeah.
SmackDown.
Yeah, I had
A
a I had
couple
a ho
times sound cut out, and I thought maybe that was on purpose because the crowd was saying a naughty word.
Right.
So that may have happened there. But there were a couple times where I lost audio and video, but I watch it online. So I'm streaming online from Fox's website, and the picture would still stay up, and the little, the timer would still be there still. So I know I didn't lose the feed.
It wasn't you. Yeah, it wasn't your like Wi-Fi or anything like that. It was definitely this match specifically. I missed so much of it because it just was blanking out. So
Okay, I
that's
didn't
kind of
lose too much.
yeah.
Did you see the leap to the top turnbuckle by LA Knight and then belly to back suplexing Santos Escobar?
Yes.
And then Logan Paul, who had been up on the turnbuckle, looked like Santos was trying to Hurricane Rana
Mhm.
Logan Paul
I like
off
that.
the top.
I like that move Logan Paul does, which is a botch that I did years ago where I knocked my front tooth out. Basically, it's like he takes the power bomb and then instead of just finishing it, he goes all the way and smacks him. They do like a face bump. They go back.
Yeah, it's an inverted electric chair.
Yeah, inverted electric chair. Okay,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. So he drops the guy face first rather than back first. Yep. I
That's
do remember you taking one of those. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, that was nasty. That was the worst bump I ever took. Just not to make it all about me, but
Sure, if you knock
I-
the tooth out, yeah, man.
yeah, I earned it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had done it. I had never taken a power bomb before, so that probably wasn't the best bet to do it. But Killer Ken Fulgham picked me up and I jumped with him, and he whipped me so hard, and he just lost me on the way back on the transfer, kind of when he's supposed to bring me back down. He just
Mhm.
lost me, and I didn't have the knowledge at the time how to take a face bump. I do know now. It's kind of like the way I was taught is turn your head and kind of land on the side of your face at all times and
Okay.
keep your arms out like this. But yeah, so anyways, it's a cool move that Logan Paul does. And
Yep. Especially when they plan it so nobody loses a tooth.
yes, yes, we don't need more. Yeah, the dentist isn't fun, right?
No.
So
Logan Paul did a good senton bomb on LA Knight and got a 2.5, like 2.5 count out of it. Looked great. And you almost thought, oh my goodness, he's going to pin him here. And LA Knight just kicked out of it. It's one of those few clean kickouts during a triple threat, because the thing about triple threats, it's always somebody else breaking up the pin.
yeah.
And that was the cool sequence there. Santos Escobar looked like he was trying to Hurricane Rana Logan Paul off the turnbuckles there. LA Knight got elbowed out of the way, then did the leap up to the top turnbuckle, which that's one of his signature moves. This time was really cool because Santos Escobar, two other guys were already on the top turnbuckle.
Mhm.
So for LA Knight to leap up there, not bump either one of the other guys off, and then he winds up, instead of the standard superplex, he belly to back superplexes Santos Escobar off. Soon as LA Knight hits, Logan Paul recovers and hits that beautiful senton off the top turnbuckle. So it was a great looking sequence by all three guys. So, a well-timed, crisp match. The things that you worry about in a triple threat are, is the timing going to be off, and are guys just going to look like they're just waiting around for like a three-way spot fest?
Yes.
And this wasn't it. The timing was there. The crispness was there. There was enough things where all three wrestlers were involved, and enough things where two wrestlers got to square off and, hey, kick out fair and square on your own.
Yeah.
So I liked it. This was a good match.
And then we had another. Let's keep the ball moving
Two
here.
more triple threats. Which ones did you like best of the women's Money in the Bank qualifiers?
So maybe we can go to the triple threat with Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, and who was the third?
Candice LeRae.
Yes, Candice LeRae. Okay. So Tiffany Stratton wins it.
Yep.
Oh, and it looks like they are strapping the rocket to Tiffany. She's getting lots of wins. She wins the qualifier to go to the Money in the Bank. We've spoken highly of her, and she seems to be on her way up.
They've attached her to Nia Jax as well. A big thing about this match is that when it looks like Tiffany is in trouble, let's see here. It was Candice and Tiffany get thrown to the floor by Jade Cargill, who recovers from an early double team. Nia Jax walks down to the ring, kind of to protect Tiffany Stratton. That's when Bianca Belair comes running out to confront Nia Jax, and they don't get into a fist fight or anything, But it's just like, oh, you're down here to be in Tiffany's corner. Okay, I'm here to be in Jade's corner then. And they do that. They go to opposite sides of the ring, and you've got the two tag team partners in a sense just watching the match. And I'm scratching my head going, where's Indy Hartwell?
Yeah.
Where is she to back up her tag team partner, Candice LeRae? And sure enough, that plays into the finish. Jade gets sent to the outside near where Nia Jax is. So Nia starts laughing and slowly walking over. This draws Bianca, of course. And now the two managers are yelling at each other. This distracts the ref. And wouldn't you know it, Indy Hartwell from the crowd takes a fallen Jade Cargill and throws her into the ring post. And that's it. Now they've neutralized Jade. So back in the ring, Candice LeRae's playing possum on Tiffany Stratton and rolls her up, but only gets a 2 count. Tries her springboard moonsault. Tiffany gets the knees up and then hits her own top turn moonsault for the pinfall. So they did a good job of a few things here. Neutralizing Jade, who is obviously the stronger wrestler in the triple threat.
Right.
Not having Jade take the pinfall, getting heat with the Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill faction, and the Indy Hartwell, Candice LeRae faction, which they teased for a tag team match next week. Keeping Nia Jax in the loop here. So that was all neat. And like you said, Tiffany Stratton gets the win and she's going to Money in the Bank.
Yeah. So I like this match. It was pretty good. What'd you think of Jade Cargill?
I like that she took the double team from the 2 wrestlers and didn't look invincible.
Yeah.
She's looking more like a real pro wrestler now, not like a Goldberg.
Yes.
You know, she's looking like what you're supposed to look like as a pro wrestler. You know, she's getting double teamed. She's selling. You know, she makes her comeback a little bit. It works, but then she gets beat down again. You know, and at the end, a wrestler almost her size surprises her and throws her into the ring post. She sells it. And now she's out of commission long enough for the pinfall to happen. So I think it makes sense. I like it. I like that we're seeing more from Jade. I know the announcers keep talking about, like, you know, Jade's been, you know, this great wrestler since she first showed up. She's been nothing but spectacular. And I'm like, that's their job. But no, for people watching, it's been obvious that they've been protecting Jade for a while, and maybe now some of the training wheels come off. What did you think of how Jade looked here?
She was okay. She's still a little awkward, and I think it's just gonna be that's just it. It is what it is at this point. She, like, there's some points where she's just like, there's just something about her where she just like stands there and looks around. And I'm like, you know, rather than kind of being in the moment, it just seems like she's looking for the next spot.
She's still too much athlete, not enough wrestler.
Yeah.
There's a difference. She's still too much athlete, not enough wrestler.
She's like, okay, we go here, we do this. Okay. And then like it's like she's going to the next part of the story rather than like feeling it out, calling it out there. But you know, I don't want to bury her too much because you know,
it's progress. No, it's
progress.
Not a burial.
No. It's definitely, like you said, it's a little progress here, and we are actively rooting for all of the wrestlers. So we're not going to be.
Yeah, Jade Cargill looks like a comic book character, and because of that, they had to put her on TV.
Yeah.
The thing was, she wasn't ready to be a wrestler like the other top women in WWE are real wrestlers.
Yeah.
So they have to find something to do with her where they can put her on TV and let her, you know, kind of do her indie wrestling work in the WWE on SmackDown and on pay-per-views. So she's making progress. Is it fair to say that she's making progress? She doesn't look like she did months ago. Does she? Or am I just, you know,
I think
at it with rose-colored glasses?
Tonight was a step up for her. And, you know, especially triple threats aren't easy. No. They really aren't. There's a lot going on. It's not a common match. Although actually it's getting a little bit more common, I feel like in WWE, but
Right.
it's not a very common match.
And they're getting better at it though, right?
Yeah.
They seem to be getting into and maybe it's just the wrestlers are getting more reps at it, but
Mhm.
you talked about a wrestler standing around waiting for something to happen. That can happen a lot in triple threats, can't it?
Oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
you're always there's so much built into the triple threat. Like, okay, the wrestler that you can't see is going to go do something to you now, and you almost have to kind of wait for it. So it is a tough match if your timing isn't really good.
Mhm.
But yes, I'm with you. I think the WWE does more triple threats, and I think they do them better than they
Yeah.
used to.
Well, speaking of triple threats, we got another one tonight.
We did.
And this is the last match of the night we're going to talk about. It's Indy Hartwell, Naomi, and someone I have never seen before.
First time seeing Blair Davenport. I did a double take myself. They've been teasing her in some backstage interviews.
Yes.
But I haven't seen her wrestle yet. Blair Davenport, yeah.
And Naomi wins this match somewhat predictably with Indy Hartwell in there. And there was no swerve here. Naomi wins it. And, we get a call back kind of here from Jade coming back down the ramp from the match earlier. So I like how they connected that. And Jade interferes and basically helps Naomi to win.
Yep. Yeah, that was a cool callback. Now Indy Hartwell's involved in a Money in the Bank qualifier. And so it looks like, Indy winds up flattening both of her opponents on the floor. And that's when she notices that Jade has walked down to ringside. And they square off. Jade throws her into the ring post. Tit for tat there, right? That's what Indy had done to Jade earlier. But this time, Jade throws Indy back into the ring and feeds her to Naomi.
Right.
So that's the pinfall there. And hey, it works. Yeah, 10-minute match. And it sets up heat between these two tag teams, which is good. So good kicking the storyline forward, the angle forward. These rivalries and feuds, live to fight another day there. I like it. Not a lot of great spots to talk about. Naomi still does that split-legged moonsault, which is basically a less powerful moonsault than if you were standing up there. It's like, how do you make the moonsault less impactful? Well, actually do it from half the distance. Broken up by Blair with the kick. Blair does not take the pinfall here. So it looks like they're not just feeding her up there as maybe an NXT call-up who's just going to take a few pinfalls for people. So they didn't make Blair take the pinfall here. So maybe that speaks to they want her to do more than just be, fresh meat for the more seasoned veterans.
I think it's pretty. This was a pretty good match, and I love the finish. It's another roll up. So I just like, just a regular roll up. It wasn't like some sort of finisher.
Yeah, your opponent's been beaten down. You got a gift handed to you. Go for the pinfall.
Naomi seems a lot better in the time that she's been at TNA. I think she picked up some stuff, and she's come a long way.
Okay, you remember her from her previous round?
Yeah, it was all gymnastic-y stuff, but now she's doing some cool, unique moves. And I think she's improved for sure in TNA.
Was she in a tag team with the former Sasha Banks?
No.
No, that wasn't them.
She was with someone, though. Oh, man. She was with, I forget who it was. I'm completely blanking. We got some people here.
Tell us in the comments. Tell us in the chat if you're with us live. Who did Naomi tag with, and maybe also who was Sasha Banks tagging with in WWE? Because I may be confusing wrestlers from a little bit before our time here on Don't Bury the Lead, watching SmackDown and WWE's product as a whole.
Yeah, let us know who is the person that was in Naomi's tag team at some point.
We don't have a third man in the booth here who's just on the computer looking up stuff for us.
Right. I don't have. Yeah, we don't. We don't have an intern yet that
We
can
don't have
help
an
us
intern.
out.
We don't have a producer. We don't have a sidekick or anything. So
And it always turns into a disaster if I would start to Google something and try to look it up and figure it out. And then before you know it, we're like 5 minutes into dead air. So, you know, we
we don't
want
need that.
we don't need that. And Dom,
Anything else from this the show that you wanted to get to?
no, I think that's everything,
One more
highlighted.
backstage thing that's worth mentioning because it looks like a longer term angle. DIY versus A-Town Down Under, the tag champs. Another interview, another attempted intervention by DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa to tell Austin Theory that Grayson Waller's not really your friend. And then that leads to a mini brawl when Grayson Waller jumps them from behind and then they get out of there. And that's going to set up a tag title match, I believe, for next week's SmackDown before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view the next night. So another job of keeping some longer running feuds on people's minds. I think it's and again, I'm starting to notice more of the production work that you've pointed out.
Yeah, the backstage.
Like some of the backstage stuff, some of the angles for these interviews, some of the settings where they're doing them. Things look good. This is a well-produced TV show.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an improvement, and it's a lot less like big bright lights, like big monitors all over the place. Like, remember they had that huge giant screen, and now they're just like, oh, it's just like a wrestling show. You don't need this giant screen.
Yeah, let them sell more tickets too, because now you don't have to, not sell the tickets behind your huge stage set.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
it's smarter. It's a better show all around for the in-person audience, and it looks great on TV. You can have just a normal sized entranceway and do a great job with it.
yep,
Camera angles, which they're doing a lot. They're shooting upwards from the floor towards the ceiling now a few times, and not just to catch the Money in the Bank briefcases, but sometimes just for that kind of an angle shot and just the grandness of it. So it's a well produced TV show. No complaints for the production value of what WWE is doing. They're a big time company. They got this down. A lot of skilled people.
All right, Dom. Well, that's SmackDown. So, is it drive time?
Is it? We keep talking about roads and everything, but what about just our own drive here? The thumb drive.
That's right.
This is where we distill this show down into a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties, no thumbs in the middle. There are also no star ratings, no letter grades, no number grades. You're taking this course, pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We don't do star ratings. We don't do 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't do 2 stars on Sunday Night Heat. We don't do a half a star on WCW Nitro. No. We just say thumbs up, thumbs down. That's the only grading system we have here at Don't Bury the Lead. So, ready? What do we give this show? 3, 2, 1. Oh, 2 thumbs up.
I'll go barely. I don't usually like 3-match shows, but there were 3 pretty good matches. We got some LA Knight, and we did get some other brawling stuff that wasn't technically a match, which was good. I like it. And the stuff that was non-match, the main event, I think they took a good step forward with it. So I'm not going to complain. If this were every week, I was just getting 3 matches, I'd get tired of it after a while. But I can't find anything on this program where I say, nah, they botched that.
Yeah, no, for sure. From my perspective, the main event was killer. Just watching Heyman get the beat down that he got, getting put through the table, like so crazy to see, a kind of roly-poly older man get thrown around and beat up like that. I really cringed when he went through the table. I was like, oh my God, that looked bad. So I think just the main event was strong enough, and the three matches gave it a pretty solid thumbs up here. So
Okay, as a guy who's taken bumps, I actually thought Heyman going through the announce table was better for him than actually getting power bombed all the way down to the floor or to in the mat.
for
I think
sure.
when you're getting triple team power bombed, first of all, they have you up there very securely. They're actually breaking your momentum on the way down because the other two guys are holding you. Like they're making believe that, oh, three guys are forcing him down. No, the two guys on the side are slowing down the descent.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're only going like 2 feet to the table rather than 5 feet to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I thought this was as nice, as comfortable a power bomb as you can take.
Credit Repair says agree. Thank you.
Is that
Credit
agree on
Repair.
the thumbs up there for the thumb drive?
I think he just said it, so I'm assuming about the table bump.
Okay. Well, thank you, Credit Repair. Well, what say you, Bonsall Street Bomber, about bumps like that?
Yes, thank you, Credit Repair, and appreciate the chat. Keep them coming, guys, because we got a lot of people actually kind of piling in now. So don't
Very
be
good.
shy. Say what you think. But yeah,
And if you're watching this on recording, tell us in the comments. If you're watching us live on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever else you're finding us live, thank you very much. The motherload of our content is over on YouTube. Look for Don't Bury the Lead Up Wrestling channel on YouTube. That's where all these live streams get archived and recorded, plus the under 60-second shorts, John, that you make, and also the edited clips that you make. Those are all there for people to see, and maybe some marathon videos as we get on maybe to the road to some of these pay-per-views will be coming shortly. So all of that is on the YouTube channel. Subscribe at YouTube. It's free. Follow us there, and tell us in the comments if you are watching this on the archive. We've thrown out a few of those today. Tell us what you think of this bump for Paul Heyman. Is it an easier bump or a more difficult bump, taking the triple power bomb onto the table?
Yeah.
And I'm not discounting the fact that Paul Heyman took a bump. I've never taken a bump like that. So I'm not discounting that. But it looked like the guys involved protected Heyman. Like they understand he's not a wrestler. They don't want to kill him. I'll do another callback here. Let's see. Credit Repair. These guys know what they're talking about. Love it.
Thank you, Credit Repair. You rock.
Thank you, Credit Repair. Hey, an endorsement. I love it.
Yeah.
And maybe Credit Repair or someone else watching can chime in here. When I see a non-wrestler take something like that, this reminded me of in TNA Impact when Dixie Carter, who was the owner of the company, got such tremendous heel heat. And Bubba Ray Dudley, Bully Ray, up on the top turnbuckle, did a sit-out power bomb with her.
Mm-hmm.
And like she took it. And I think it may have been through a table. And you're like, oh my goodness, she's taking this kind of a bump. And then you realize, like, okay, it is a real bump. I'm not discounting that. But when you look at the move, you realize that Bully Ray was doing so much to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, he told her, look, just grab the back of your head and tuck it. And he even helped her a little bit tuck her head so her head was off of the impact area. Second, it wasn't a regular power bomb. It was a sit-out power bomb. So the guy that hit the ring and hit the table was Bully Ray with his ass.
Right.
You know,
so
yes, Dixie was there for the impact and the motion, and she's going to get a little bit of the whiplash at the end. But, like, Bully protected her as well as you can protect anybody possible. Like, Bully took the move himself, and Dixie was just along for the ride. And I got that impression when Paul took the table spot here, that those three guys were doing this in a way that Paul Heyman could just go along for the ride, tuck your chin, buddy, land flat on your back. The table's going to give. It's going to go to the floor flat, roll over on your face. The referees will come on and make believe you're dead.
Yep. And Dom, speaking of impressions, I'm kind of getting an impression here that there's another segment coming our way.
There is another segment coming our way. It's the summertime. So it's hot. And even though tonight's sort of a cool evening here in southern New Jersey, we are always heat and we are always cheap. And it's time for Cheap Heat.
Cheap Heat is a segment where we talk about trending topics in the wrestling world outside of, we do WWE, AEW, other topics in the wrestling world. Typically what we'll do is we'll cut these videos down and make them shorter YouTube videos because the algorithm likes the trending topics. So if you're watching us now and you're on YouTube, please hang in there. Subscribers are always very, very helpful and welcome if you would like to. If you don't want to, that's okay as well. So let's get into it. I'm going to pop up your screen, Dom, and take it away.
They mentioned tonight during the broadcast a big score for Indianapolis. The Lucas Oil Arena there, the big old dome stadium they have here, is getting a Royal Rumble in 2025. And then they've announced future, they will get a WrestleMania and they will get a SummerSlam. It'll be a 2-night WrestleMania as they've been doing, and also the kickoff of maybe the 2-night SummerSlams by the time they get it there. So, of course, some of the WWE stars got asked about this. Comic Book Nation caught up with Bianca Belair. I'm not going to play you their video because I don't want it to get flagged for copyright infringement, but I will show you the thumbnail there in the beginning of it. Go see the video at Comic Book Nation. But Bianca Belair gets asked about, of all people, Caitlin Clark, WNBA star. She had been an NCAA star for Iowa. She now plays for the Indianapolis team. And Bianca Belair starts talking about it, says, yeah, Caitlin Clark, why don't you enter the Royal Rumble in 2025 since we'll be here in Indianapolis? Just a fun segment, trying to get WWE in there with other top sports stars from outside of pro wrestling. Caitlin Clark, by the way, she's been in the news a lot because they're wondering if she's taking her licks as a rookie there, getting some hard fouls as you should. But we have one WNBA coach at least saying here that no one talks more crap than Caitlin Clark. And this one comes to us from the MSN network here. Yeah, shades of like Larry Bird there, trash talking from Indiana, even as a rookie, and sort of startling people like, this guy's trash talking and he's just a rookie. What's he doing? But yeah, apparently Caitlin Clark can take it. So would you like to see Caitlin Clark in the Royal Rumble?
And then thanks to Nick. We're getting some chats here. So thanks, Nick, for contributing here. Appreciate it. Let's go New Jersey. We are from New Jersey, so
yes,
yeah.
We have mentioned it. Very good.
Agreed. And I'll tell you what, Dom, Caitlin Clark is a somewhat of a big star.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen something like her since LeBron James from a hype aspect, not necessarily a playing ability, but it seems like ESPN's really latched onto her and is trying to get this going. But yeah, so I think ultimately Caitlin Clark would be a big benefit to either AEW or WWE. WWE always likes to do things with celebrities. Even if she was just there, I think it would get a pop.
Like tonight.
Yeah, like
Jalen Brunson, and then Tyrese Halliburton comes out.
Which they didn't really have to do anything. They didn't have to take a bump, but they're like squaring off.
Yep. Hey, let's talk your favorite pro athlete cameos in wrestling. Nick's saying that Caitlin Clark will definitely be involved. Hey, there we go. In the Women's Royal Rumble. You heard it here first. Nick is making the prediction.
Yes.
There we go. Oh, we like it, Nick. There you go. Stand behind the hot take. So Caitlin Clark will be there. The crossover is coming. Yeah, again, thinking along with us, especially after tonight's Knicks Pacers deal. Yeah. So and maybe Nick, you want to tell us in the chat there. We're gonna go through who's your favorite athlete cameo in wrestling? Because the WWE has done this for a long time. It is usually with football players, and this goes all the way back to I'm thinking Lawrence Taylor headlining WrestleMania one year with Bam Bam Bigelow. They did have Shaquille O'Neal, who's a basketball player, but he's as big as a football player. So it's usually football players. Two Eagles players participated on the outside of this year's WrestleMania. They've had football players before. Sometimes make Rumble appearances, sometimes for battle royals of other sorts, sometimes in a match here or there. I'm also thinking back to Kevin Green and Steve McMichael in the WCW days. Who had a longer run, especially McMichael. He was in the Four Horsemen.
Oh, right.
For a while.
Wow.
Yeah, McMichael was in the Four Horsemen for a while. And of course, there have been other guys who are great athletes who
Floyd Money Mayweather at one point fought.
Yeah, did a boxing thing. Yeah,
did a boxing thing with Big Show.
With
which
Big
I
Show.
thought that was cool because Floyd Money Mayweather is meant for pro wrestling. He just has that attitude, and he's always playing healed.
Well, let's do a little thing here. We're gonna discount boxers and MMA guys because they're a little too close to wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your favorite person who became famous in another major sport who had a cameo in the ring. Give me your favorite. I'll tell you mine. It's someone we haven't mentioned yet, but back in the WCW days, and these were not football players, they were NBA players. Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman appeared in the main event of a pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
During the NWO days. And those guys were pretty good.
Yeah, right.
Like they did not make fools of themselves. I did not think in the match.
Mm-hmm.
They did pretty well. I liked it.
Rodman was a piece of work. Coming out with the NWO, smoking the cigar, he fit right in,
Yes.
He came out smoking cigars, which is crazy, and he was cool.
And Karl Malone fit right in there with Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, that personality fit well with DDP. And Dennis Rodman went on to do very interesting things with his life for sure.
Yes.
Very, very, very interesting guy. And then Nick had another comment here. He doesn't think Caitlin Clark will wrestle, but she'll be involved like Kelsey was in the WrestleMania this past year. What do you think of that?
Very good. But you're saying that, in a few months, 6 months, 7 months time, when it's Royal Rumble time, that Caitlin Clark is still going to be a big enough star in Indianapolis.
We forgot one. Nick called it out. Pat McAfee. I forgot about this.
Okay.
How did we miss him?
Pat McAfee was the best, hence where he is now. What did Pat McAfee do? Was he a wrestler? Did he get in there and have a match?
Yeah, he wrestled Adam Cole on NXT.
Okay.
Yeah, so this must have been when you weren't watching.
I was not watching.
Yeah, he had a good match with Adam Cole.
Okay.
Also, if you can remember, he did. Were you watching when he did the WrestleMania match with Austin Theory and Vince McMahon? That whole thing.
Oh no! My first WrestleMania back was 39.
Oh, you missed the whole train wreck with Vince McMahon, and he and Vince McMahon had a match, and it was like Vince was so old he couldn't do anything.
I caught the train wreck with Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 39.
Yep, I think we're just a year late here.
There it is. Yes, he has two matches: the one with Adam Cole, and then you're saying the one with Vince McMahon.
Yeah, he had like a match with Vince McMahon. I think Austin Theory lost to him. So Vince McMahon's boy was Austin Theory, so he went to avenge him and said, "Ring the bell," and went in and wrestled him. as a complete surprise, not even announced as a match. So, like, it wasn't even built or anything like that, built up, and Vince starts wrestling Pat McAfee, and it was not good. It was
Is anything with Vince really a complete surprise, though?
right.
Like, okay, Vince McMahon is ringside at WrestleMania. There's no way he'll last minute book himself for a match, is there?
Right.
So yes, Caitlin Clark, big star. Of course, Bianca Belair was talking about her because they were talking about opportunities for women in sports nowadays. Mentioning how Caitlin Clark getting all the, as you mentioned, John, maybe the biggest rookie story in basketball since LeBron James, as far as the treatment she's getting from big media. And of course, Bianca Belair was there to make that analogy to the WWE and how, you know, the women main event WrestleMania now, or main event other pay-per-views. And, you know, they get a lot of TV time, and they've earned it. It's not, you know, like a charity endeavor or something. Like they wrestle really well. So a lot of these women athletes have earned that TV time, earned that match time. They're really good at it. They're really entertaining. They're fantastic athletes. They're fantastic wrestlers. And so this was a good segment. Again, go to Comic Book Nation on YouTube to see the complete interview. Seth Rollins also gets an interview a little bit later, but check that out all there. Let's stay with maybe some off-field star stuff. Ronda Rousey. This comes to us from the Los Angeles Times, filtered through Yahoo Entertainment. Ronda Rousey is writing a graphic novel. It's called Expecting the Unexpected. She's launching a Kickstarter for it. It will be a Rousey-written 160-page book with illustrations by award-winning comic artist Michael Deodato, slated to be published next year by artists, writers, and artisans. Fans have 30 days to order the book.
Nick, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it, and you were a lot of fun. We're here every Friday night, so anytime, you know, you're on YouTube, subscribe to see us, and we'll be here Friday night. But and jump on in. I appreciate the comments, buddy.
And of course, you can jump over to YouTube anytime you want and see the rest of this show, because it will be archived there under the live tab. So very good. Thank you, Nick. Expecting the Unexpected. It's apparently about saying, do you ever get an idea in your head and you're laying in bed and you just can't get the idea out of your head? This was basically her idea. The story revolves around a notorious hit woman who goes by the code name Mom because she wears a fake baby bump filled with weapons. After she sleeps with a fellow assassin, however, Mom becomes pregnant for real and has to come to terms with the notion of being a parent with a bounty on her head. It sounds like an interesting story, not too much cookie cutter, although it's a little bit based on her own, I guess, difficulties with her husband, former UFC fighter Travis Brown, in trying to have a family of their own. It really is our story. Although I really didn't go on a spree of fighting all these people, but you know, it was kind of their story in a sense, but now just as hit woman and hitman. So this is interesting. If you're a comic book fan out there, that we just did an interview by Comic Book Nation. If you're a graphic novel comic book fan out there, is this the kind of thing that you would be interested in here?
And there's a lot of wrestling fans, I'd imagine, right now that are in the comments or are watching. Let us know what you think of Ronda Rousey right now, kind of post WWE, her career. I know she kind of did some shoot interviews where she wasn't so nice to the WWE. Some of the stuff was fair, they were saying,
and especially not Vince McMahon.
Yeah, some of the stuff was fair about Vince. I mean, he probably deserves his comeuppance a little bit here. But let us know what you think of Ronda Rousey.
A lot of action sequences. I wrote all the choreography for it in the script. Actually had to film them. This is talking about appearing in some movies and TV shows. But this is her trying to take her experience as an athlete, as a combat sports athlete, and a pro wrestler, with a little bit of real life mixed in there. So good for her.
For sure.
Would she be willing to turn the graphic novel back into a screenplay? Twist my arm and I'll do it. So, hey, she seems to be a creative person. That's good. I've written about some of the struggles of trying to be a creative person when maybe you're not. Maybe you're not that much of an idea person. So good for her that she's got something else she's up to. Let's talk more about movies. Dave Bautista. He's in the movie The Killer's Game. And when he saw in the script a part that they had written, he said, I know a guy who can do that perfectly. Drew McIntyre.
Wow.
And so that's how Drew McIntyre got cast, because, Batista's reading this and going, oh, Drew McIntyre would be great at this. Yeah, there's Drew saying, Dave called and asked me if I wanted to be part of it. He had a conversation with the director. They were looking for a couple of characters who were hitmen. They needed someone who physically looked like they could take on Dave. That's him. That is Scottish and sometimes unintelligent when he talks. Good sport there. Comedic side, and Dave went, I know that guy. He actually exists. He's called Drew.
Right.
So good for Drew McIntyre. We are seeing a lot of Drew McIntyre's charisma lately, aren't we? Over
for
on
sure.
X, Twitter, he is doing a parody of CM Punk. He superimposed his face onto CM Punk and is parodying a CM Punk interview about quitting AEW, where he's now going, which sick freak made this when it was Drew? I turned to Paul Levesque and I said, this place is a joke. You're a clown. I quit. He's doing CM Punk parodies. More than that, you may be able to see a little of it here. Drew McIntyre's profile on X, Twitter, is him mocking CM Punk. His avatar is a bloody CM Punk.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre gets social media, and if he didn't actually hate CM Punk, he's doing a darn good job of acting like it.
Yeah, he's done a great job. Drew's really come out of his shell, if you will.
Yep.
Especially with Punk and just burying him like left and right. He wasn't usually doing like the internet burying stuff, but I think he's always been a face. So now that he's a heel, he can do all this stuff. He should have been doing this as a face, quite frankly.
Right?
You
can do this as a face if you do
working.
it the right way. Year and a half ago, we did our grading show, grading sort of the first 3 months that we were watching SmackDown. And we were giving out grades, and Drew McIntyre, guys like him, Sheamus, New Day, we gave them a C grade because they were competent. But if they were off TV for a while, you didn't really miss them. They were just kind of going through the motions with, week to week feuds here and there. Drew now is doing better work than that. He's the kind of guy who you'd miss him if he were gone.
Oh, yeah. He's entertaining on the screen. He's hilarious, and he's a monster, and he's good in the ring. So, yeah, has all that going for him.
He has a lot of stuff going. And apparently he's got a movie role going for him, thanks to Dave Bautista, who saw the script calling for a large Scottish character and said, hey, Drew McIntyre, come on down. Another big wrestler's been on screen, Hulk Hogan. The Who Killed WCW series is going on. Hulk Hogan was interviewed by Justin Barrasso at Sports Illustrated about the series, and Hulk Hogan said, he hopes that people get out of it that it's covered properly of what Eric Bischoff was up against in trying to save WCW, or at least buy the promotion and keep it on TNT. That there were just a lot of people on TNT who just did not want, they just did not want it there.
Yeah.
I can tell you what killed WCW. There was no way WCW was going to survive, not under those circumstances. Hogan is referring to the merger between America Online and Time Warner that took place in 2001. Without a strong advocate for wrestling on the business end, like Ted Turner had repeatedly been during his successful Roma Turner broadcasting, there was no future with WCW with their new parent company. It's like the opposite of Tony Khan. It's the opposite of the owner just loving pro wrestling.
Yeah.
It's the owners of the network who've now just, because WCW was Turner owned. So when AEW brought Turner, they kind of bought WCW, and it was like, no, we just want to unload the property, and so WWF bought it.
Yeah, and they got it for nothing. It was a
right,
steal.
almost nothing. Right, it was a steal.
Complete steal. Because now
have you watched any of this series, the Who Killed WCW series?
Yes,
I have not.
And it's kind of funny that you bring this up because is it at the top? You said Hogan hopes that Benoit shows what the odds
that Eric Bischoff was up against.
The shows the
Eric
odds.
Bischoff was trying to buy WCW and its TV deal to stay on the air. And when as I've heard the story go, I have not watched the series, but the story's been out there for years, that once the new owners of TNT networks made it clear they did not want a wrestling program on their network, then it became worthless.
Yeah.
So if I'm not going to buy this wrestling program without a TV deal.
So what Bischoff did on the first episode was he buried Hogan. So it's funny that he was
really, and here's Hogan sticking up for Bischoff.
Hogan sticking up for him and completely buried him. He's like, oh yeah, we really messed up this one finish with Sting and Hogan just didn't want him to. There was a way that they finished one of these matches, and he said that's how it was.
Starrcade '97.
Yeah,
leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth.
Yeah, Starrcade '97, and they had built up this storyline, and Hogan did one of those "it's not going to work for me, brother" kind of situations, but he ends up losing, but in a real goofy fashion at the end there. So not really clean.
No, involving Bret Hart, who had just jumped from WWF.
Yeah, so
that did not kill WCW.
Yeah, but it was funny that Eric Bischoff, that Hogan's like sticking up for Bischoff, and Bischoff's burying him in the first episode.
Yeah, well, they're all heels, right? They're all stabbing each other in the back, but maybe Hogan's more of a baby face now in his retired days, with his fun bar down in the Tampa area, slapping that guy on the butt and sending him through a table last week. We had that in Cheap Heat. Go check out Cheap Heat from last week for the June 21st show.
I'll be right back with them.
Sure, let's jump over to WrestleZone. Nick Aldis saying that WWE would benefit from being able to use TNA's history to tell the full story of a lot of their wrestlers, because wrestlers jump from promotion to promotion if they've had long careers, and it'd be great if you didn't have to ignore that, if you could acknowledge that when a wrestler comes in. We see them doing more of that. We see with the Tongas in the Bloodline that they're acknowledging that these guys were multi-time tag champs in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Maybe I forget the number they may have thrown out. They were seven-time champs over there. So we do see some of this coming up, but it would be cool, especially if they have a little partnership with TNA, to be able to tell, say, like Drew McIntyre had a run in TNA Impact. Kurt Angle had a long run in TNA Impact. Nick Aldis himself was Magnus in TNA Impact. It would benefit them to be able to tell this story. LA Knight, I think he was there as Eli Drake for a while, and he was the TNA World Champion. So there are a lot of guys in WWE who have histories in these other promotions. What do you think, John? And we'll throw this out to the chat and the comments as well. Would you like to see WWE acknowledge more of the other promotions and the history that their wrestlers have in them? Or would you like them to sort of stick to that old school kayfabe where, if it didn't happen in WWE, then it didn't happen?
No, I love the crossover between the promotions.
Okay.
AEW's done a fantastic job with it. And they've got New Japan, they got CMLL that they work with now. So they have all these other companies that they work with. And they send wrestlers like right now, John Moxley is the IWGP heavyweight champion. And he's wrestling for AEW, so it's really cool.
Because TNA has a rich history at this point. I was there. I came into TNA arguably at its peak in 2009. We were doing a couple of million viewers on Spike TV. Those are huge ratings today. That's what Fox does and what Raw does.
Yeah.
What USA does for Raw, what Fox does for SmackDown.
Yeah.
It would be beneficial. Particularly, you look at AJ Styles or Drew McIntyre, LA Knight. Yes, all world champions at TNA. Being able to sort of cover a significant part of a character's history. So yeah, that would be cool. Especially since wrestling fans a lot of times know guys from different promotions. The first SmackDown that we did, Don't Bury the Lead, I recognized Eli Drake. Our very first one. There he was. What's he call himself tonight? LA Knight. I remember him. That's Eli Drake. And his thing with Eli Drake is it's the 3 syllables. He would point to the crowd and go, Eli Drake. So he's got that same kind of name, LA Knight. I wonder if he's going to do the point with the crowd, LA Knight. And sure enough, he did it. So yeah, there are some wrestling fans out there who know these guys from other promotions. I think that's a great thing. And Nick Aldis is the perfect guy to talk about it because Nick Aldis was big history in TNA. Also NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. So he's a guy who, and when he came into WWE, the reason why it was such a big deal is because enough wrestling fans knew him from those things. It was like, wow, Nick Aldis is here.
Right.
Because they knew who Nick Aldis was. Like we knew him.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So that's a good thing there. Let's move on now. We've talked about Natalya being a great trainer of the younger wrestlers. We've seen her working out in the dungeon with Jade Cargill. She's doing it now at BFAB. And BFAB, of course, is talking about this. Training with you has meant the world to me. Your passion for the business has grown my passion. Energy matching energy always. The boat, the best of all time. And because Natalie had posted this video, very proud of how hard you're working to be the best. So fun watching you grow because WWE is trying to do more with BFAB now. She's in the Pride with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. And here she is getting in there wrestling, offensive moves, defensive moves. She's in the dungeon, learning to be a better wrestler here.
I like that she's doing this, BFAB, because I want to see her stay on the roster, and I'm pulling for her. And she was in a really bad faction there for a while, and now she's out of it. So
now she's out of it and doing well. And Natalya, of course, and the dungeon, she's all over X. A dream match of sorts is coming up. Both of whom trained at the dungeon. Did you know that Io Sky trained at the dungeon? I did not. No. So did Utami Hayashishita. I am mispronouncing her name in all likelihood. But this is supposedly a dream match coming up at Marigold Summer Destroy pay-per-view in July. The Queen of Queens match. And they had both trained in the dungeon. This is Natalie giving huge ups to another promotion. And of course, isn't it great WWE letting Io Sky and go do this?
Yeah, why is she doing this? Or why are they letting her do this? You don't really see this too often.
You don't see this too often, but maybe because other promotions are doing it and having success with it.
Yeah.
That WWE is like, yeah, okay. Let her go. Let her have a dream match in Japan with Utami. It's Io and Utami. Great match. I almost want to see this. I don't know if I'll be able to get the pay-per-view. It's probably at a weird time for me being in the States.
Mhm.
But if there is video of this match in particular, I will watch Io Sky and this person I've never heard of before, but I've seen a few clips. I will not play you this clip because we've gotten strikes against us when we've tried to do that before. And,
Mhm.
it's just not worth it. I'll just put up this screen grab of the match promo there at the end. But yes, if anybody winds up having video of this match after July 13th, see if you can get in touch with old Dom here at Don't Bury the Lead. I think I'd like to watch this one. I'm, of course, impressed with Io Sky, and especially what she's done as a singles wrestler. She was a great tag team wrestler. She became an elite level singles wrestler, and I bet this is going to be a great match. I don't know the other person in it, but I bet it'll be a great match.
Yep.
What do you think? Maybe it's in the Tokyo Dome. I don't know. Does Dave Meltzer give this 9.5 stars? What happened?
Oh, it's in Japan. Guess what? It's going to the moon. It's gonna be.
But
It's
it's
gonna
a
get.
women's match,
Oh,
so
that's
like
true.
he discounts it, and it's with a WWE person, so he doesn't like that. So I mean, there's a lot of conflicts of interest here.
No, you're right. Women. He hates women, so he's gonna. This will be 2 stars. No,
Too sorry.
man. He's going to be so conflicted because it's in Japan and he loves Japan, but it's women. Does he just can he ignore that they're women and give him his 7 stars?
This might be. We were talking before. One of our past WWE things we went over during Cheap Heat was all the matches from since we've been watching that Meltzer rated 5 stars. And we brought up the question of any Io Sky matches that you put there. And we said, well, her best one was with Bayley at WrestleMania. And maybe because of the way they built the feud.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe this will be a 5-star match. I think it'll be entertaining. Again, I may not be able to get this pay-per-view just because I'm halfway around the world. But I would love to see the match.
Mm-hmm.
This would be fantastic. Let's get to some wrestlers who are maybe not active at the moment because they're rehabbing, like Charlotte Flair, posting this to her Instagram. She tore everything imaginable in her left knee in a match with Asuka. She is getting to strength. Apparently, her left quad is within 20% of the right quad. And that's really important because anytime you tear a joint or break a bone or something where your limb has to be immobile, you start losing muscle mass. So it's not just the joint or the bone or the ligaments that have to heal. You've got to build up, your strength in your body parts again. So this is good news for Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, for sure.
Saying that her left leg had to be in the 40% or less deficit for strength compared to the non-surgical leg. She's at 20% or less for as far as the deficit goes. That means her left leg is 80% and above of the right leg, and that's great news. That means she's on her way. What do you think? Charlotte Flair back before or after SummerSlam? They originally said maybe 9 months, which would have to be after SummerSlam. But do you think she's making it back for SummerSlam in a month and a few weeks here in early August? Or do you think she'll have to wait until the fall?
After. I think give her a lot of time off because if you cram her in before SummerSlam, she'll debut and then what? You throw her in a random match. So, I think after SummerSlam, it's like, oh, well, she's back. The crowd goes crazy.
Let's do after. You covered this in a great short where you did an analysis of his move and what happened to him. Adam Copeland, an injury update for the elbow off of the top of the cage through barbed wire that he did at an AEW premium live event there. It was at AEW Double or Nothing. He posted to Instagram that that's what his left foot looks like now. That's the part of his leg that he broke, that some of the swelling is trying to go down there. He's recuperating. He's still a long way away. The article from WrestleZone that quoted him here saying that, let's see, better gauge 8 to 10 weeks before his leg is ready for weight bearing. 8 to 10 weeks. So still a few months away for Adam Copeland.
Yeah.
But, he's on the way there. You just threw up a chat I saw there. Did I miss it? Was it?
Oh no, it's an old one. Sorry.
Okay.
It just said great stuff. Where we have to head out. Love the show, fellas. So
hey, more great stuff on the way in Cheap Heat. Another wrestler who's legit injured, Rhea Ripley. She's injured, and she is not only recuperating from her injury, she and Buddy Matthews get married in Australia.
wow.
And in fact, this was June 23rd, so a few days ago, Sunday, June 23rd in Australia. They got married. They had been engaged. We covered that. They were featured in People magazine right before their wedding. And then, of course, People magazine went rushing to update it that, hey, they just got married. We just profiled them and they got married. But they're getting some mainstream press. So this is not only good news about wrestlers recovering from injuries, but also a great mainstream story and a personal life story there for Rhea Ripley and Buddy Matthews. Buddy Matthews was apparently written out of AEW programming for a while with an injury angle, just so he could be off TV. What say you about this?
People magazine's pretty big.
Yeah.
I know it's not the same publication as it used to be, but People magazine is they pretty much follow celebrities, so they have to identify those two as celebrities.
Celebrity and celebrity relationships. They have made it. They are celebrities now.
I noticed that so Jason Kelsey was just a player that everybody liked in Philly. And once he started making his podcast with his brother, he started to blow up. And People magazine started doing all these articles about him. And I was like, why is he in People magazine? I'm like, oh, he's a celebrity now. He's not just a football player.
Yeah, you become a personality. I mean, if you're in the public eye, there's a chance you'll be a celebrity. You can be a celebrity for being a musician, an actor. You can be a celebrity for being an athlete.
A YouTuber?
YouTuber, Logan Paul. Yeah,
Hello.
there you go.
Hello, People magazine. Where's my article?
Don't bury the lead. We need a profile of John and I on for what we're doing here. Don't bury the lead. People magazine, don't bury the lead. I mean, for crying out loud, WWE watches us to get story ideas. How many times do we have to go through that?
Triple H has been on one of our streams and talked to us. So guess what? We're celebrities. Put us on your magazine.
They were named Breakthrough Wrestlers of the Year by CBS Sports in consecutive years. So they are stars in the business. They are stars out of the business. And they are now husband and wife, although for rival promotions. But hey, people move companies in the WWE and in the AEW and in TNA, ROH. All the big promotions, New Japan, everything, Major League Wrestling. You never know. Maybe they'll be in the same promotion at some point in their futures, like Charlotte Flair and Andrade. Andrade just came back around. So they were in separate promotions for a while. Now they're husband and wife in the same promotion. So
I wonder if they had a bunch of AEW and WWE guys at this wedding, if it was big.
Yeah, that's a good question. We do know that another Judgment Day fellow stablemate, Dominic Mysterio, got married recently, and there were Judgment Day people in attendance who got the crowd to boo him. We covered that in Cheap Heat. That was entertaining.
Right.
Yeah, now this was in Australia, so it was a long hike. I think they got married in Australia.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that would have been quite a hike for them.
That might be send a card. I'm not going.
Yeah, right. That's sorry, it's too far away, and some of us still have to work.
Right.
We're still working. Had she managed to do this around a tour of Australia, then maybe they could have done it. I wonder if they're mentioning it. I think they mentioned that it was in Australia at some place here. So yeah, it was a while away. We also mentioned the former Madcap Moss and Emma getting married They were also covered in People magazine. They got married in Hawaii, halfway between Minnesota, where Madcap Moss is from, and Australia, where Emma is from. So yeah, a lot of professional wrestlers. Now that pro wrestling is a bigger pop culture thing, you see them more in places like People magazine. Like 40 years ago, People magazine wasn't going to cover Dusty Rhodes, right?
Right.
Hey, People magazine fans, he's the son of a plumber.
No.
He's Dusty Rhodes. Let's interview him. That wasn't happening.
No.
Now mid-carders get featured in People magazine, all the time. The pro wrestling is pop culture now. It's celebrity stuff.
Can you imagine the interview with all the slurs?
Right.
all the his accent. Hey, baby.
Yeah. And he's got to keep kayfabe for it.
Yeah. You guys want to interview Dusty? The lisp. I can't do a good Dusty. I'll try it. I'll work on it.
There is a shorts that you made of me pretending to be Dusty Rhodes, booking himself going over all the pies at Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Find that in our YouTube channel, in the archives, the shorts. It's me doing it. We got into how Dusty Rhodes basically, because we were talking about Survivor Series and War Games at Survivor Series, and how Dusty basically invented War Games so he was the booker, so that the Four Horsemen would get their comeuppance. And he would just book himself and his team to go over the Four Horsemen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I got an idea. How about we go over you guys in the War Games? And then it was Thanksgiving weekend. It turned into, just booking himself to go over the pies. So head on down to the pie window. It's not the pay window, it's the pie window. Head on to the pie window, because we going over the pies. Check out that old shorts there from this past November Survivor Series time. Late November, early December.
That's a classic.
Right? I was doing a pretty good Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
That's what I got. It's pop culture. It's glitzy. It's glamorous. It's all over the airways in the news. But when we do it, it's still cheap. And it's still heat. It's cheap.
Cheap heat. There we go. All right. So that's
anything we missed, tell us in the chat. John, was there anything you wanted to share there that we didn't get to?
No, I think we did a good little rundown here.
Tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comments. What are your takes on any of the stories we covered? Was there a big story this week that you wanted us to cover that we did not get to? Please let us know. And if it's the kind of story that has some legs, share us a link. Maybe we'll get to it next week. You never know. We do read the comments. You can see here during the live stream, we do read the chat. I cannot see the live chat. John can, and of course, John brings them up whenever somebody says something interesting to us that we can respond to. So thank you, everybody who's live streaming with us. Thank you to everybody who's watching us in the archive at YouTube at our main channel there. Thank you to everybody watching the shorts, the edited clips, the longer form stuff, and stay tuned for some of our specials and maybe a marathon special coming up. On the road to one of these pay-per-views. I heard AJ Styles say that getting a power bomb from six-sided ring was more painful than from a four-square WWE ring. Not sure why that can be. Maybe because of the reinforcements under the six-sided ring because of its shape. Maybe there's less give to it. I can tell you this. I've heard wrestlers say that the six-sided rings, the ropes, have more tension to them than the four-sided rings because the sides are shorter. So there's not as much give to, say, the WWE four-sided ring, there's not as much give in the six-sided ring that TNA used as there is in the four-sided ring. So yes, it changes how you wrestle a little bit. Like bumps in the six-sided ring apparently were a little stiffer. It could also be the TNA just didn't like to pad their ring as much.
Yeah.
WWE does like to pad the ring. And of course, the longer sides from the four-sided ring make the ropes a little easier to hit and a little bit more spring off of them. They move a little more with you.
In
The four-sided, the six-sided ropes were more like hitting a guardrail.
Yeah, in the Indies, we wrestled in a ring that was hard as a rock. It was
Okay.
brutal. It was literally wood with a little bit of yoga mat, and then they put the mat on top of it. So yeah, all the bumps you felt big time.
How
but-
were the ropes there? They looked kind of loose,
Yeah,
especially when people tried to climb the turnbuckles. You could see the turnbuckles sag a little bit.
Yeah,
You needed really good balance to use the turnbuckles.
turnbuckle was a really tough move.
Yes.
In that particular ring, and all the rumors that we had heard is like just talking to other wrestlers that had worked for other companies there, and the scuttlebutt was basically that the WWE rings are beds, like they fall into like great, like it's very comfortable. It's very
Okay.
It's very padded compared to what we were working with, of course, which was like sometimes you'd have like a part that there was a hole. There'd be like a hole, like a little part of the ring had a hole in it because like the wood was messed up. So you'd like take a bump into like a hole of wood. And you're like, ugh.
So it wasn't even an even surface.
No, there was like sometimes there was little issues with it.
Yeah, little undulations in it where the planks of the wood, because it didn't look like the planks of the wood were nailed down. It was more like parquet and just pressed together.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if some of the wood moved a little bit and you got a slight gap there, it's like they used to tell stories about the parquet floor at the Boston Garden, that there were some spots in the floor where you could fit 4 quarters into the gaps.
Wow.
And then there were dead spots in the parquet, of course, because it was on top of the ice rink surface in the old Boston Garden. And of course the Celtics knew where all the dead spots were in the floor.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't dribble on those. But as a visiting player, sometimes the unevenness of the floor would get to you.
Right.
Dead spots in the floor, slight gaps in the parquet that was slid in and put together. Yeah. Home arena advantage, home court advantage there.
Hey, I know we still have some people in the chat here, so if you're watching now, it's really helpful if you wanted to go ahead and subscribe. We're a small channel, so we're trying to get bigger. So every subscriber really helps us out a lot. And if you wanted to do that, I'd really appreciate it. We're very.
What are we up to now? What's the subscriber? We're over 600, right? We passed another benchmark there, 600.
Yeah, we're at 629.
Very good.
And we're very close to the first stage of monetization with this channel, so it's very exciting. Just hoping we can get there. Targeting it there early September, hopefully. But we'll have to see. But anyways, yeah, if you could subscribe, it's super helpful. And I appreciate you guys hanging on. I see in YouTube, there's been 2 people here.
Go to our archives, watch some of our old live streams, find your favorite pay-per-views, see if you agree with John and I as our takes on it. Play it at 1.5 speed if you want to get through it faster. It'll sound like John and I have had way too much caffeine. Talking extra fast. Put it on in the background. Give us a listen. Give us a watch if you want to see some of the visuals on screen as well. But yeah, go through some of our interesting content that we have. It is all free. None of it is paywalled. It's at YouTube. Don't bury the lead. Find us there. Fall asleep with some of our stuff just playing in the background.
That's what we want. That's what we really want. Our favorite viewers are people that just watch for hours and hours and hours on end, and they sleep to our.
Make a playlist with all of our live streams and just play it into your earphones as you are asleep. Just like you'll have subliminal messages from Don't Bury the Lead as you drift off to slumber.
Exactly.
You will be dreaming about never, ever, ever burying the lead ever again.
And chat, we're in Italian Goodbye right now. So I don't know if you know much about this show or what an Italian Goodbye is, but there's the Irish Goodbye where people will just, they don't even say goodbye. They just leave. That's it. Like, oh, time to go. And then they just leave. The Italian Goodbye is when you start to leave and then conversations just keep kicking up, and you're usually standing in another room. It's in the front of the house, and you're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get ready to go," and then like suddenly, big conversations start up, and it takes like 45 minutes to leave that conversation typically.
I
So
bring it up every now and then. I was on a video call with a technical writer, a colleague, someone I was asking questions of for the tech industry. I'm nominally in tech, trying to get back into it on a full-time basis. Had been full-time before, and I'm talking to him, and we start saying goodbye, and it's like, here, I'll send you this link, and 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes later, I say, okay, I'm Italian goodbying you. I know you have something to do. I'm sorry.
right.
I do it to everybody. I'm Italian. It just happens. I Italian goodbye to you. I'm sorry. And he was laughing. So
I'll be right back, Dom.
he got the joke there. So as Cody Rhodes might say, what do you guys want to talk about? Tell us in the chat. I won't be able to see it until John comes back there. Let's see if let's see if I could. Okay, there it is. I see the chat now. So if people are sending chats through, maybe I can see them now. Yeah, we've got some credit repair in there. Nick Teodoro, thank you. Yeah, if anybody has something they want us to mention from this week in pro wrestling, from SmackDown, from the WWE, here's your chance to get on the live stream with us. I've got to, I'll tell you this much. I'm going to help some friends here in town move tomorrow. Good friends I got here in the little town where I live. They are it's one of the downsides of renting is, they were renting a house and the owner sold the house, and so now they got to get out. So they're moving tomorrow, and they're one of those good neighbors, good friends that I have here in town. They are trying to look for another place in town where they can move. They'll be staying somewhere else temporarily. So that's always fun. It's hey, at least it won't be raining when we're moving boxes out to the flatbed trailer there and the vehicles to send them on their way. But that'll be fun. So I'll be getting up a little earlier than normal on a Saturday for that. If you're into our archive, you may see from last year that I cut a promo for a Battle of the Burgers as my old wrestling character, Doc Lester.
Nice.
I judged the Battle of the Burgers again this year, not as Doc Lester, just, there were 3 judges and I was there to judge the Battle of the Burger. I don't know if we talked about it, but we had 5 different burgers entered into the Battle of the Burgers from different restaurants. And so we cut the burgers into quarters, and, each of the 3 judges, we had a quarter there. And I was not one of those judges that just like took a bite or 2 and put the rest of it aside. Like, I finished every quarter of burger that they gave me. And then later I went back for that spare quarter, or maybe the spare half a burger that was sitting there. I went back and I got those as well. So I did not.
Now, did you eat them right then and there, or did you take them home?
Oh, I was eating them there. After the Battle of the Burgers, when we went ahead to the winning burger did a black and blue burger, which was a blue cheese burger. They did not overdo it. It was not crazy with the toppings or the sauces. It was just, a good slice of blue cheese gets that pungent savoriness to the burger. And then just go simple. Do the raw red onion. That gets you your spice. So you don't have to try and add spices to it. And that gives you your little bite to it. The fresh tomato slice was on there, and the lettuce for a little bit of crispness. It was a really good bun. And, the burger was well prepared. So, good sear on the burger. It was, it was just a standard good burger. And, just that simple change of going blue cheese instead of, like the American cheese, which really isn't cheese, or even something like a cheddar or a Swiss that's on there a lot. Like they went pungent with the cheese. It was a good deal. And I've since I haven't been back to the restaurant that won the Battle of the Burgers, but I've gone to the other 2 restaurants that entered burgers since then in the weeks following it. And I've gone and I've said, I want the burger you ordered into the Battle of the Burgers. I was one of the judges. I like your burger. because you didn't get a bad burger at the Battle of the Burgers.
No Barrett Brooks this year either.
Barrett Brooks was not there this year. I heard that he and his wife bought a house in Clayton, and it was an old house. It was a large house that had fallen into disrepair, and they're trying to repair it.
Mm.
And that's why he was involved in the event last year. He had just been looking at the house, and maybe he had just purchased it last summer. And so, as he was trying to get to know Clayton better, he came out to Battle of the Burgers, and he and I were the judges for last year's Battle of the Burger.
Now, did they mention why he didn't do it this year?
No, they didn't. He may not have been available. It was just me and a couple other people from town government. That's who they always get to do these things.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Bring Barrett back, baby. And
especially since he looks like a guy who knows his burgers.
yes,
he's enormous.
And
he's a former football player. He's 6 foot something and 300 pounds.
And
this guy was a huge elite professional athlete.
He does TV now too. So he does TV. He knows how to do the presentation.
And if he tells you his opinion of a burger, you're more likely to listen. Like, oh, this guy, he looks like he's put away thousands of burgers in his life.
Oh, Dom.
Like, he knows burgers. Like, you would take burger advice from a former football player who won a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
You would be likely to do that. And I put away burgers too. I'm nowhere near his size. I'm probably not exaggerating, half his size, maybe less. I'm more of the 5'10", 160.
Right.
Just like your average person from years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I can put away burgers, and I put them away last year, and I put them away this year, especially since they were good burgers. It's like you feel bad letting good burgers like these go to waste. Everything was good. So I've been back to each of the 2 runner-up restaurants to get their burgers. In fact, I was in one of the restaurants. A couple of friends had invited me to their son was getting an emblem award from Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts. And so they invited me to the ceremony since I had participated in one of his lessons as a guest speaker at it. And so afterward, they said, let's go to lunch somewhere. Where do you want to go? And I said, let's go to this restaurant right here in Clayton, especially since I won't need to ride home afterwards, because it's walking distance to me. So we headed off to this restaurant, and I said, I want the burger you guys entered in Battle of the Burgers. And they said, oh, it's not on the menu. I was like, well, can you make it anyway? I said, yeah, I'll call the owner. He's not in yet, because this was around noonish. And he said, yeah, he's not in for the dinner rush yet. I'll call him. This was a Saturday early afternoon. So they called him, and they made the special combination of toppings and things that they had put on the burger just for their special entrant into the contest. They made it for me and brought it out. It was fantastic. So I still got to be back to the winning restaurant to go sample the black and blue burger that they entered into the contest since the Battle of the Burgers early in June. But yeah, it's been fun doing stuff like that, and you probably have a cool little burger or taco or pizza place in your town. If you have a good one, at least one good one, you live in a pretty cool place.
Yeah, and
it's not like a chain store, right?
Yeah. So, Dom, as we're kind of winding down here, we have one person still here on YouTube. We have 4 people.
Do we have a chat sent in by them? We will answer questions, take comments. We will take criticisms. Tell us what we screwed up. We want to get better.
No, we had 2
Keep
people.
Keep it like YouTube appropriate. We don't want to get a strike against the channel, but argue with us. Coach us up.
Coach us up a little bit.
We can take it.
No, we've got 1 person from YouTube, 4 people from Twitter, 1 person from Twitch.
Still hanging with us an hour 48-ish or whatever into the live stream here. Thank you guys very much. Now burgers. The wee hours of Saturday morning here.
Yeah,
in South Jersey.
And you could tell they're committed because, we're talking burgers. and
that would hold my attention.
Yeah, it's making me hungry right now.
I mean, it was from Battle of the Burgers. It was kind of a pro wrestling thing. That's why I cut a pro wrestling promo for it last year when they asked me if I would do that kind of a promo video for them.
Well,
Yes,
Tom,
and we reposted and shared it on Don't Bury the Lead. But
well, Tom, I'll tell you what. I think it's about that time that I hit the old dusty path here.
it's about time for the real goodbye.
Yeah. So, Tom, thank you so much for joining. This was great. Thanks to all those that watched. We had about 20 viewers for a good periods of time, and a lot of people from YouTube. So that's really exciting. So it's always fun when people are on here participating, chatting. We try to keep the vibe up. We keep it positive about pro wrestling. So we're a little bit different than most YouTubers, I'd have to say. We're not just trashing the product left and right. So yeah, if you liked what you saw today, please subscribe and check out our channel on YouTube. But thanks so much, y'all, for your time, and have a great rest of your